Greetings at Cheating Story Lab. A message arrived during my lunch hour, urging me to review the custody filing without delay. My lawyer never sends such messages unless a crisis has erupted. I accessed the court documents on my phone, and there it was, Dominic Carver, listed as my ex-wife's character witness, under her witness roster. The man she had been seeing for the last year of our marriage. The man who moved in with her just 3 weeks after I filed for divorce, and now she wanted him to testify against me in court as an unfit father. I remained seated in my car and chuckled, not a bitter laugh, but one that comes when your adversary makes such a monumental blunder you almost pity them. Almost. My name is Garrett Priestley, and 6 months ago my wife of 9 years, Cassandra, informed me she wanted a divorce. We have a daughter, Lily, who was 7 at the time. Cassandra stated that our marriage had reached its end, that we had drifted apart. Phrases commonly employed when someone else is occupying the bed. I had my suspicions but couldn't confirm them at the time. The day she requested a divorce, she appeared composed and rehearsed. She had legal documents prepared by an attorney unfamiliar to me, requesting primary custody, the house, and 70% of our savings. When I inquired why she required primary custody when we always shared parenting duties equally, she met my gaze squarely and said, "Because Lily requires stability and you've been inconsistent. Inconsistent." I coached Lily's soccer team, prepared her breakfast every morning, and stayed up late assisting with her science fair volcano while Cassandra attended book club 3 times a week. However, in that moment, I didn't challenge her claims. I informed Cassandra I would consult my own attorney about the matter and we would discuss it further. She seemed taken aback, perhaps even dismayed by my lack of reaction. That was when I realized another revelation was imminent, a shock people rarely anticipate. Unless Mitchell Rourke's previous investigation revealed that Cassandra had already hurled a grenade, I enlisted his services, a family law attorney who bore a striking resemblance to a character from a courtroom drama, sporting silver hair and sharp suits with equally keen instincts. Upon viewing Cassandra's demands, he reclined and stated, "She's gearing up for a battle. The question is what she's fighting for and what secrets she's concealing. What do you imply by hiding? It's uncommon for someone to attack so aggressively unless they are concealing something or fear you will discover something before them. We must determine the reason." I granted Mitchell the liberty to delve deeper. Within 2 weeks, he returned with financial records revealing that Cassandra had established a secret bank account 8 months prior. She had been transferring funds from our shared account, not substantial amounts, but small deposits such as $200 or $300. These transactions amounted to approximately $11,000 that I was unaware of. When I challenged her about this via text, she claimed it was an emergency fund and accused me of being overly suspicious. The affair surfaced almost by happenstance. Over the weekend, Lily disclosed that her friend Dom had taught her pancake making. I inquired about who this Dom was, maintaining a casual tone. Lily appeared unbothered, saying he's friendly, he stays over sometimes. Without displaying emotion in front of Lily, I waited until she was asleep to contact Mitchell. The following morning, Mitchell reported back with details about a man named Dominic Carver, 34 years old, 2 years younger than me. He has a past conviction for assault from 2019, serving an 18-month sentence and being released on parole in early 2022. He had already breached his parole once before, failing to check in with his parole officer for 3 consecutive months and receiving a formal warning. Mitchell's contact at the probation office stated that Dominic Carver was supposed to have full-time employment and stable housing. However, it seemed he was residing at Cassandra's house, the very one I continued to pay off. Leonard Watts, the parole officer of Dominic Carver, is someone I know from law school. If Carver is breaching his parole by residing somewhere unknown and being around a minor without proper clearance, Watts would certainly want to be informed. Are you understanding my point? The implications for your custody case just expanded significantly as Dominic Carver has become more pertinent. I didn't give away any information unwittingly. That was Mitchell's suggestion, and it proved valuable. Unbeknownst to Cassandra, I was aware of Dominic's criminal history. Moreover, she had no clue about my contact with Watts, who showed considerable interest upon learning that his parolee had been cohabiting at an unspecified location with a woman and her child for several months. The custody hearing is scheduled for November 14. It appears Cassandra's strategy in the coming weeks will be to portray me as emotionally unstable, negligent, and potentially dangerous. My lawyer submitted a motion asserting I displayed angry outbursts and made Lily uneasy during my parenting time. However, none of it was accurate. The statements were broad enough to make me appear defensive if I contested too vigorously. Following this, the witness list emerged. Cassandra's mother as expected, a neighbor who would testify about my irregular work schedule since I worked from home, and Dominic Carver, listed as a character witness who could speak to Cassandra's dedication as a mother and my alleged instability. Mitchell smirked upon seeing it. Essentially, she had handed us the case. How? Because when Dominic Carver enters the courtroom, he switches from her boyfriend to a parolee with something at stake, and we will ensure he is well aware of this fact. The hearing unfolded in a windowless courtroom that reeked of old carpet and stale coffee. Judge Andrea Hollies presided, a woman in her late 50s with a reputation for dispensing justice without fuss. Cassandra, accompanied by her lawyer Gregory Finch, overly perfumed and grinning excessively, occupied the defendant's table. Dominic, adorned with a neck tattoo partially concealed beneath a button-down shirt, sat in the gallery behind her. Cassandra's mother spoke first at the witness stand. She discussed Cassandra's dedication, her constant prioritization of Lily, and her apparent detachment during the marriage. When Finch questioned if there were concerns regarding my parenting, she paused just enough for me to discern it as rehearsed. "I have apprehensions about his temper," she whispered softly. Despite never raising my voice to that woman in 9 years, I couldn't help but sense some truth in her statement. The neighbor, Mr. Pemberton, followed, a man residing 2 houses away and hardly acquainted with us. He testified about my irregular comings and goings and recounted an instance where he saw me arguing in the driveway. However, Finch neglected to request an explanation for the circumstances. Eventually, Cassandra ascended the stand, tears streaming down her face. Cassandra spoke about the difficulty she experienced maintaining family unity amidst your emotional withdrawal. She mentioned that Lily began experiencing nightmares after encounters with you, returning home apprehensive and silent. Cassandra expressed concern for Lily's safety should custody arrangements not be adjusted, labeling it as a performance, well executed. Judge Hollies jotted down notes. When it was your turn to speak, Mitchell opted for brevity, inquiring about the separate bank account, which Cassandra claimed was for household emergencies. He also probed about Dominic. She acknowledged their relationship, but emphasized he had no influence on parenting decisions. Mitchell asked if Dominic resided with her. She replied that he did not, instead choosing to stay occasionally. Mitchell gave a nod, indicating no more questions. Later, Finch invited Dominic Carver onto the stand. Dominic approached with confidence, a well-built man, clean-shaven, and seemingly accustomed to charisma helping him evade repercussions more often than not. He was sworn in and took his seat. Finch inquired about the duration of your acquaintance with Cassandra. "It's been 8 months," he replied. "How would you describe her as a mother?" "Devoted, caring, always prioritizing Lily," he answered. "Have you ever observed me interacting with Lily?" "Once, briefly during a custody exchange," was his response. "How did I appear then?" Tense, Dominic stated. He believed I was angry. I had been tired, explained Dominic, as it had been a 12-hour day and a 30-minute drive to pick up Lily. However, Dominic affirmed that I indeed seemed angry. "In your view, does Cassandra Priestley appear to be the more stable parental figure?" "Yes, definitely," Dominic confirmed. "Thank you. No further questions." Then Mitchell stood up, saying, "Your Honor, I'd like to call a rebuttal witness." Judge Hollies looked up and Finch quickly rose too. "Objection. We weren't notified." This unnamed witness wasn't listed. We weren't certain Mr. Carver would testify, but given his testimony about stability and character, we believe this witness is directly relevant. The name is Mr. Watts. He's waiting outside. Leonard Watts, a public official, was called to testify regarding Dominic Carver's credibility. His qualifications were presented. Judge Hollies signaled for Finch to wait. "Allowed," he said briefly. Entering the courtroom, Watts appeared as a middle-aged man wearing a coat from the county probation department. Sworn in, he stated his name and position, then sat down. Mitchell asked, "Mr. Watts, could you clarify your professional connection with Dominic Carver?" "I am his parole officer since his release in March 2022. The courtroom grew quiet. Cassandra's complexion pale, Dominic remained motionless. Mitchell continued, "Could you also explain the conditions of Mr. Carver's parole? He must maintain full-time employment, attend anger management therapy, report to me monthly, and disclose any changes in residence or cohabitation with others, particularly minors. And since his release, Mr. Carver has reported any change in residence." Watts unfolded a folder. Mitchell stated that Mr. Carver has been residing at 428 Maple Drive for around 5 months. not his mother's apartment on Westbrook Avenue as previously recorded. Cassandra's lawyer reiterated his point. Indeed, Your Honor, this change in address was not disclosed to me, and it has come to my attention that a 7-year-old child resides at the new address. The judge interrupted Finch. Mr. Finch, please sit down. Watts examined the document Mitchell presented. I must clarify, I was not informed about this change of address. Doesn't Mr. Carver's criminal record necessitate prior approval for cohabitation with a minor? To which Mitchell replied, Yes, Your Honor. In fact, Mr. Carver has been living with my client's daughter without informing his parole officer, thus breaching the terms of his release. He even testified about his stability and parenting skills while hiding this violation. Finch attempted to defend himself. There seems to be no proof that Mr. Carver was indeed residing at the new address, Mitchell argued, handing a folder to the bailiff. In text with Ms. Priestley and records, there's reference to home, grocery receipts with Mr. Carver's name, and a picture of his truck in the driveway at 6 a.m. last week. Judge Hollies examined these items. Her face stiffened. Looking at Dominic, she asked, Mr. Carver, is 428 Maple Drive your residence? Dominic hesitated, then glanced at Cassandra. I occasionally stay there. How frequently? No response. Mr. Carver, you are under oath. He responded eventually, most nights. Judge Hollies closed the file. Mr. Watts, I need you to remain after this hearing. Looking at Dominic, she said, Mr. Carver, you're excused. I advise you consult your lawyer. Leaving the stand, Dominic avoided looking at Cassandra. Judge Hollies then questioned Finch. Counselor, do you have any other witnesses? Finch looked at Cassandra, who was gazing at the table. No, Your Honor. It seems Mr. Watts has presented our case. He summoned Lily's soccer coach, who testified that I had never missed a practice or game. My supervisor was contacted and verified my work-from-home arrangement. The schedule was organized and steady. He provided logs proving I attended every parent-teacher meeting, doctor's appointment, and school event for the last 2 years. Additionally, he submitted the financial records revealing Cassandra's hidden account and withdrawals that corresponded with Dominic's expenditures on car repairs, electronics, a beach getaway, among other items. Judge Hollies reached her verdict swiftly, taking less than 10 minutes. I have observed numerous custody disputes, she stated. Typically, they involve two parents who care deeply for their child but differ in opinions regarding what's best. However, this isn't one of those cases, she looked at Cassandra. Ms. Priestley, you invited a man with a criminal background into your home, permitted him access to your daughter without disclosing his past to the court or his parole officer, and then brought him here to testify about your ex-husband's character. You fabricated allegations of instability and rage without proof. You misused marital funds and hid a relationship, portraying yourself as the more truthful parent. Cassandra wept sincerely this time. I'm granting joint legal custody with primary physical custody to Mr. Priestley, the judge announced. You'll have supervised visits until a child welfare evaluation is finished. If Mr. Carver accompanies you during any visit, full custody will be revoked. Do you comprehend? Cassandra murmured. Yes. Judge Hollies turned to me. Mr. Priestley, I apologize for putting you through this. You're a good father. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. I nodded silently, unable to speak. In the courtroom, Leonard Watts was waiting with 2 sheriffs from the county. They weren't there for me. Dominic sat on a bench with his face in his hands. Roberts approached him and said, We need to discuss your living arrangement. Mitchell and I walked to the parking lot. He patted my shoulder. Winning the custody case turned out exactly as you said. I didn't anticipate she would call him to the stand, but desperation often leads to poor decisions. She believed his testimony would present her as stable, yet it provided us with all the necessary evidence. Upon reaching my parents' house where Lily was residing during the trial, she rushed towards me and embraced me tightly. Did we win, Daddy? I replied affirmatively. Yes, sweetheart, we won. Does that mean I can stay with you? It means you'll be with me much more often. Is that all right? She nodded against my chest. I missed you too. Later that night, after Lily fell asleep, I sat on the back porch with an untouched beer. I pondered over the past 6 months filled with fear, anger, and restless nights, wondering if I might lose my daughter due to my ex-wife's attempt to rewrite history. My thoughts also wandered to Dominic, who walked into the courtroom confident only to face a parole revocation hearing. Lastly, I thought about Cassandra, who risked everything on a lie and lost. Primarily, I pondered over Lily. Contemplating those mornings I'd prepare breakfast for her again, soccer practices I wouldn't have to skip, and the realization that she'd mature knowing I fought for her. In about 3 weeks, I received an email from Mitchell. Dominic's parole was annulled. He was serving out the rest of his initial sentence, which was 14 months. Cassandra's supervised visits were prolonged for another 90 days, pending a welfare assessment that didn't go well in her favor. I didn't rejoice or celebrate. Instead, I archived the email in my drafts and erased it. Lily once asked me why Mommy couldn't attend her soccer game. I told her the truth in a way she could comprehend. At 7, Mommy made decisions that weren't safe. Now she must demonstrate to the court that she can make better ones. Is Dominic going to jail? He breached some rules. He's taking responsibility for his actions. Yes, Lily responded. Then she asked if we could have ice cream after the game. Children are remarkably resilient. Grown-ups make things intricate. Half a year following the request from Cassandra to contact, she proposed a conversation without lawyers, simply us. I consented to meet her at a coffee shop midway between our residences. She seemed smaller, drained, her appearance had changed. She no longer adorned the jewelry that Dominic used to gift her. She apologized for everything. Initially, I remained silent, swirling my coffee. I didn't know what I was thinking, she explained further. I convinced myself you were the issue, that you didn't care, that I deserved better, and Dominic. He made me feel cherished. I acknowledge it sounds pathetic. It sounds human, I responded. She looked up. You're being overly generous. I'm acting as a father. Lily still adores you. She inquires about you. If you wish to rectify this for her, I won't obstruct you. But you must genuinely correct it. No more deception, no more manipulation. Show up consistently for her and demonstrate stability. That's all it takes. Cassandra nodded tearfully. Thank you. I drained my coffee and rose. This isn't for you, it's for Lily. Don't push me into regret. I didn't wait for a reply. Instead, I left, climbed into my car, and drove to the elementary school to retrieve Lily from after-school care. She raced towards me, clutching a painting she'd made, a depiction of a home with 2 figures and a dog we currently lack. Can we get a dog, Daddy? Perhaps, I replied. Let's discuss it. She prattled on about different breeds, names, and training throughout the journey home. I paid attention, smiled, and felt the burden of the past 6 months dissipate. Cassandra never presented Dominic at another hearing again. She completed her evaluation. Her visitation rights were upgraded to unsupervised after 4 months. Now, she sees Lily every other weekend and sometimes during the week for dinner. She makes an effort, which is all I can expect. Dominic was released from prison in the spring. Rumor has it he relocated to another state, which is good for Lily, who is now 9 years old. She plays soccer, attends art classes, and aspires to become a marine biologist when she grows up. Her holidays are split between my house and Cassandra's. It's not ideal, but it's consistent. Occasionally people question if I regret the intensity of my struggle. If I wish I had let the courts decide without delving into Dominic's past or involving Leonard Watts in the courtroom. My answer is straightforward. I don't regret defending my daughter, not even a bit. Because when an ex-wife brings her affair partner to a custody hearing to claim that you're unstable, you don't retreat. You challenge their claim, you present evidence, and you allow the truth to prevail. This is not vengeance. It's just standing firm to prevent something that was never rightfully theirs to seize.